Hello and welcome to the BioStock studio here at the Medicon Village in Lund. Today I'm joined via link by Dr. Michael Robin Witt, CEO at Gabather. Gabather is a small pharma company based in Södertälje near Stockholm, developing drugs aimed at treating disorders of the central nervous system, mainly psychiatric and mood disorders like depression, anxiety, and schizophrenia. Dr. Witt will tell us more about their main candidate, GT002, and the ongoing clinical trial. Welcome, Dr. Witt.
Thanks, Michael.
Well, first of all, just for some context, could you tell us briefly what GT002 is and how it works?
Right, GT002 is our clinical candidate. It's a small molecular weight compound. Think of a very usual drug-like compound. It is a modulator of the GABA receptor, which is the main inhibitory transmitter in the mammalian brain, actually. And it is a positive allosteric modulator that's very specific and very selective and very potent. And so it binds very strongly. That means that you need low doses to achieve your effect. And that low doses means you can expect fewer side effects. So it's a very promising candidate for us. And it's part of one pattern group that we have targeting the GABA A receptor. So we have in total 2 pattern groups, 2 difficult chemical structures. And GT002 is the main candidate of the 00 series, and we've worked for it for the last 3 years almost.
Okay, so it's a long ongoing work, but in October last year you successfully completed a phase 1b trial and that was used to evaluate the safety profile and pharmacokinetic properties of GT002 in healthy volunteers. Could you give us a quick update on this study?
Yeah, absolutely. You're right. It's a long ongoing work, but within drug discovery, drug development, time frames are still rather quick. We got it through tox studies, production of clinical material and so on, or regulatory, all the steps you have to do before you can put it into humans. And we've conducted 2 trials now in humans, a single ascending dose and a multiple ascending dose study. Both studies were very positive. We developed our own formulation for GT002, which was actually a milestone, which we patented actually. And it's very well tolerated in humans. It's available for an oral single daily dose, which is very interesting. It's very good safety profile, also when taken multiple times, like in multiple ascending dose studies. And it gets distributed into the body. You get proper exposure in the blood, in the serum, what we expect. And it also gets metabolized. So looks very promising so far, both from a purely pharmaceutical point of view, but also from a pharmacological point of view. So we're very excited about the next studies. And it's, of course, our absolutely largest candidate because this is what people expect us to produce, which is clinical data eventually in patients as quick as possible. But we also have other compounds in the pipeline that we are still investigating, but they are still in the preclinic. So this is our compound that we have in the clinic so far.
Yeah, okay. So, well, keeping on with GT002, I know that you've been planning a target engagement study. So I was just wondering, what does this study entail exactly, and why is it an important step in the development of GT002?
Yeah, and the target engagement is a little bit of a buzzword. What does it mean? Well, it means that what you want to see is that GT002, when given orally in humans, it actually reaches the brain and engages the receptor in the brain and modulates the electrical activity. So what you do in a target engagement study is you give the GT002 compared to placebo to healthy volunteers, and then you monitor the electrical activity of the brain and you monitor the magnetic activity in the brain by imaging. So you can see if your drug actually reaches the brain, you can see if your drug modulates activity in the brain, and you can see where in the brain it will modulate that activity. So it's an absolutely, not gatekeeper, but I would say gate opener study, because once you have successfully performed such a study, then you can actually go and expand both the indication and the partners that might be interested in that exact EEG profile for their particular indication that they are interested in. So it opens us a lot of possibilities for the future. And it's something we've learned actually in partnering meetings, that this is a kind of study that potential partners with medium-sized, large-sized pharma want to see during engagement with us for future collaborations or partnerships. So the study is very, very interesting. It's being planned. We have a budgeted. We have a CRO is defined. So all that is in place.
That's great. So it's obviously a key part to this project, and in tone with that, what are some of the challenges related to this part of the study, and how can these challenges affect the overall timeline of the study?
Yeah, I mean, of course, I've got a number of questions regarding the timelines because we've announced the study, of course, but I will only answer in the sense that we will conduct the study once we are sure that we can achieve good results. In this particular kind of study, we want to actually succeed, and we want to succeed the first time. So we will do it when we got the best conditions to do so. And for that, just as a background, but EEG and fMRI studies are very, very sensitive. So you really have to make sure that you got a very low background noise, that you got a reasonably homogeneous populations, because we don't have so many volunteers. And under the current conditions which we are observing, then of course one has to be extra careful. So our approach has been to be rather more on the cautious side, make sure that you are 100% sure that you get the results that you want, and then go ahead rather than giving a concrete date. I think one of the learning things for Gabather, maybe also for other people, is if we have made mistakes or errors, then we've always made them because of hurrying the project through rather than taking a step back and designing it properly and making sure that the chances of success are as big as they can be. I think that's what I can say to the target engagement study. Again, as in the previous question, it's an absolutely key study. So I'd rather wait a little bit longer, make sure that we succeed, than rushing it through now and then get data that we are difficult to interpret, that maybe not really too indicative. So we do it once we know that we got the biggest chances of success. I think that would be the best summary. In the same way that we did the MAD study practically in the summer of last year, which turns out now, of course, now in 2020 hindsight, was actually the best time to do it because it was in the middle of the summer, and we had planned it to do earlier, and that would not have been so good. So we're happy with that approach.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and now as we're approaching summer, we're also hoping that things will be toned down regarding the global crisis that we're affronting today. And do you think that will have an effect at all on this study?
Yeah, it will. I mean, we will observe this crisis very carefully, and we are as clever or as non-clever as everybody else. Nobody really can predict exactly what is going to happen, not even with the next months. You know, there were many people who thought that this would be over by summer last year. Well, it isn't. And so I think let's observe it, and then, go ahead once we are sure that we have the best chances of success. And I also would like to add, of course, we do have preclinical trials, we do have other candidates, we do have work that we do in the lab that we want to advance other candidates too. So it's not so that this is a complete standstill and we're twiddling our fingers in the office here. So that's not the case at all. But it's a question of I think to be positively cautious. I think that would be the best. And that's also what I communicated to many people that have asked me via email or phone. And I think many people could follow my reasoning and were actually quite positive towards this approach, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. It's some difficult times, and of course, caution is definitely of good value these days.
Well, as you mentioned, sorry, as you mentioned in the beginning, I just want to add, of course, we're a small company, we have budget restrictions, and you have to really, how do you say, administer the revenue that you have in a very cautious and well thought over manner, because it's not, how should I say, not replenishable so easily.
In regards to the GT002 project, could you tell us what the latest developments have been in terms of the overall project and what is going on at Gabather?
Well, the most recent development is actually just a couple of weeks old. So March 1st, we filed a provisional patent for GT002 for other medical uses than the one we had in the first patent. And we have substantially expanded the number of indications for the CNS. And for the first time, we also included non-CNS indications for GT002. So that's very good. It gives us the possibility to interact with different groups and protecting our IP at the same time, which gives a huge possibility, of course, for us. So it's a little bit like our approach for the patents has been what the patent lawyer calls an onion approach. So you add layer after layer of different protection for your asset, GT002. You start with composition of matter, then you go to the synthesis, then you go to the formulation, and now we go to other medical uses. So really wrap this on very well. And regarding the medical uses, you must think that, if you think about an umbrella that you've opened like half, and now we've opened it completely. So it's much more protection of a huge area, and again, including non-CNS, which is very interesting. So we believe that GT002 has the potential for many indications. And right now, we're of course focusing on memory and cognition, memory and learning, but it might be other ones in the future, depending on what models we can test it now. So I'm very excited. The patent took quite a while to make, but we're very happy about it. It's very, very well formulated.
Just one final question before we finish off. Just in the overall lookout for this year, what are some of the major milestones we can expect from Gabather?
Well, I think, of course, the target engagement study. I think we can start looking at which type of proof of concept study in patients we want to do, making contacts. I think another milestone will be arming us with support for business development. We need some expertise there, so we're talking to different people already there, because I think it's already now time to start looking for partners, and we are actually already in discussions with partners. Another milestone will be that we will produce more clinical material, and maybe last but not least, that we want to get at least one candidate, hopefully from second patent group ahead through all the preclinical trials, including animal models and perhaps starting tox studies. So I think that's more than a handful or a mouthful for Gabather for this year.
Yeah, well, thanks so much for joining us today, Dr. Witt, and we wish you all the best for the continuation of your projects, and we hope to talk to you again soon.
Yeah, so do I, and thanks for the interview, Michael, and I hope to talk to you again soon.